Yeah, it's Zoma Oscar Osnachi. I'm back to complete my presentation on Bridgestone EMEA Sustainability Logistics and CO2 emission tracking. So, in here, I'll be talking about how we managed to finalize our presentation both to the stakeholders and the sustainability department in Bridgestone. So we managed to be able to get them there and analyze the data that we got. The presentation uploads the study focus on CO2 emission tracking and sustainability emission logistics solution with Bridgestone operations. In these situations, we visited their locations both in Ireland and both the ones in Coventry DHL office there. We managed to go through their database and we introduced to some of the executives there and how they managed to understand the trucking systems, the ones that is coming from Hamburg and the ones that is coming from La. So we be able to analyze the ones coming from Dortmund. It was the full truckload then was virtually the easiest way to travel with. But most of the companies tend to do a lower truckload because some of their taxes goes into the carbon tax emissions. So they tend to do that. So we are advising, some of our recommendations should be telling the companies to be able to go on a full truckload in all their ordering pattern, both the customers in Czech Republic and the ones in Greece. But most of the companies in Hamburg, they are really doing well in the sense of they tend to do all the full truckloads when they are transporting their goods. So some of these are the things that we should be talking about when it comes to CO2 emission reduction. But during our main analysis, when we're trying to use period table to be able to understand some of the parameters when it comes to the consumption of fuel, the weight, and maybe we try to initiate the pricings of the transportations, so the loading and the offloading, all those the processes that goes through those ones. It in the calculation of those ones tends to bring more emissions in those processes. So we put it in place that this is going to be our key insights that we are going to talk about when we are going to analyze our data in the process. So, but some of the data sets was the columns were not good enough that we tried to do some editings and all that before we get to the point we can be able to run an regression analysis with it. But as we are going, we used our periodic table to be able to understand which of these parameters that are good and which of them that we can use to continue our processing. But Miss Anika was able to give us the ones that is coming from Hamburg. Then we are able to do some comparisons with the ones that is coming from La. Then the companies in Dortmund most, they tend to do more of that because they consider their taxing when it comes to carbon tax emission that is being imposed on them in the recent ages. So it's really the areas that I want to point out in my presentation. So one of the issues that we had was trying to be able to organize the data sets. We did the descriptive analytics of the database, then we performed some modeling, and we were able to we did a Monte Carlo simulation to be able to understand which of these parameters we can use for our continuous analysis, because we are trying to make sure that we reduce the CO2 emissions in the process. So but it's really the idea, but be able to talk to the customers to be able to reduce their trucking load, and that it's very, very initial. So we are doing that in the terms of when are the trucking parking, when are they going, when are they coming in, when are they loading food load, what type of trucks are they using. So we try to do it in the sense that we proceed. Then we went ahead and we did other processes that we did when it comes to the mode of transport. We analyzed all the mode of transport from quarter 1 to quarter 2 to quarter 3. Then we understand that during the festive period, there were a lot of ordering. Then we can be able to talk about, okay, what do we do? How do we do it? Okay, are the companies transforming to a full truckload in their ordering pattern? Are they going to be using a low truckload? What type of truck mode of transport are they going to be using to be able to curtail their emission rates, as the carbon rate emission rates is going to take a place in recent times. So in the sense of our analysis, we ought to still understand that there are several companies that are still doing the same emissions. Like when DHL is taking some of the goods for Bridgestone, they tend to take other companies' goods along with them. So this process has made it so inconsistent to be able to understand which of these data, which of these informations that we can use going forward. Then we talk about giving some of the customers incentives for their CO2 emissions, and some of the ways we can be able to attract the customers to do some of their loads in a food truck load, so that when it's coming from the ones coming from Indonesia and the ones coming from India can get to the Europe. Then some of them can then go to our branch here in the UK. But trying to solve all these logistic issues, companies have to harmonize. We need to get the companies to harmonize with each other to understand what are the ways that we are going to use in curtailing our. There is this UN Sustainable Logistics of 2050 of going to net zero emissions. So it comes into play in when we are doing our analysis as well. We try to understand, okay, our company we are the largest when it comes to tire production in the entire world. So we just recently bought Firestone to put inside our company, and some of these analysis of getting these customers and getting these companies to harmonize and be able to do some of their truckings at stage by stage. The ones are based in Ireland, then the ones that are based in Spain. Some of our manufacturing plants there, we can look into it, the way we can be able to utilize the Lightning system, then continue and improve our EV vehicles so that we can stop using the petrol system, which is one of the issues where we had a high CO2 emission when it comes to wheel to well and tank to well. So these issues come to play when we are finalizing. We are trying to put our work on dashboard and put it out in all the systems that the company work with. Then we also talked about doing a Power BI dashboard so that we can translate it to those customers that want to see our emission rates. So some of the customers will want to see, okay, you say we are emitting high emission. Show us, what do we do? How do we curtail it in the long run? So it's some of our things that we want to consider when we are trying to analyze the data set in the process. Then we curtail. In my report, I also mentioned some of the companies that has the high efficiency and the ones that with low efficiency when it comes to when we tag them with the pricing and all that. So inefficiency delivery routes, longer travel distances with lower load efficiency, and other reliance on high emission transport methods. Then we made recommendations targeting high emission customers, then focusing on the 369 top emitters so that they can be able to increase their shift to FTL, adopting the 20% shift to the major impact on CO2 emissions. So we replaced, in the process of replacing diesel trucks that is running in 300 kilometers to electric vehicles, so that it will get to 26% emission drop if we can implement this in our in general practice in our company. So these are the key insights I want to point out in my analysis also. But we are going to do a general presentation where all the three people that is involved in the project is going to put out their ideas and put it in the company portal.